The stars twinkled against the vast blackness of space as the U.S. horizon drifted toward the azure planet. Captain Ethan Wright stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the view screen. After months of travel through uncharted space, they had finally found it. Pax, home of the legendary Serenites. Sensors confirm breathable atmosphere and gravity similar to Earth, reported Science Officer Kate Johnson, her voice betraying her excitement. And sir, the readings of their cities, they're unlike anything we've seen before. The crew had heard stories about the Serenites from other spacefaring species, a civilization that had never known war, a species that had evolved on a planet without predators or natural disasters, allowing them to develop in complete tranquility for over 50,000 years. Open a channel, Captain Wright ordered, straightening his uniform. Standard first contact protocols. Dr. Lisa Carter, the ship's first contact specialist, moved to stand beside the captain. Her heart raced. In all her years of studying alien civilizations, she had never encountered a truly pacifist species. "Channel open," said Communications Officer Alan Rodriguez. Captain Wright cleared his throat. "This is Captain Ethan Wright of the Earth vessel U.S. Horizon. We come in peace and friendship, seeking to establish diplomatic relations." For several moments, there was only silence. Then the view screen flickered, revealing a slender, pale blue humanoid with large liquid eyes. The Serenite's features were perfectly symmetrical, radiating a sense of calm that seemed to reach through the screen. "We welcome you, travelers," the Serenite said in flawless English, their voice like flowing water. "I am Ambassador Stillwater. Your arrival has been noted in our stellar observations. We are pleased to meet our neighbors from Earth." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "You speak our language. We have studied the transmissions from your world for many years," Ambassador Stillwater explained. "Your stories, your music, your conflicts, all have been subjects of great interest to our philosophers." Captain Wright and Dr. Carter exchanged glances. The Serenites had been watching humanity all along. "We invite you to visit our surface," Stillwater continued. "Though I must warn you, our world may seem strange to those accustomed to struggle." Within hours, a small landing party assembled in the transporter room. Captain Wright, Dr. Carter, and Security Chief Paul Newman prepared to beam down. "Remember," Dr. Carter reminded them, "the Serenites have never developed weapons. They have no concept of violence or defense. Our very presence might disturb them." The surface of Pax was even more beautiful up close. Crystal spires rose from lush gardens, their surfaces catching the light of the planet's orange sun. The air smelled of sweet flowers and something else, a sense of peace that seemed almost tangible. Ambassador Stillwater greeted them personally, leading them through streets where other Serenites moved with graceful, unhurried steps. There were no vehicles, no noise, no signs of the frantic energy that characterized human cities. "Your technology is remarkable," Dr. Carter observed, noticing how structures seemed to blend perfectly with the natural environment. "Technology should serve harmony," Stillwater replied. "We build to enhance contemplation and understanding, not to overcome obstacles or enemies." As they entered a vast dome made of some transparent material, Captain Wright noticed other alien delegates already present. Representatives from the Galactic Council watched the humans with obvious concern. "Not everyone welcomes your arrival," Stillwater said quietly. "Humans are viewed as unpredictable by many species." "Because we still fight wars?" Security Chief Newman asked bluntly. Stillwater turned his large eyes toward them. "Because you fight wars and create beauty. Because you kill and you save. Because you destroy and you build. You are contradictions walking, and contradictions disturb those who seek simple truths." Dr. Carter felt a chill run down her spine. "And you? Do we disturb you?" The Serenite was silent for a moment. "You fascinate us. We have evolved in tranquility, never needing to choose between violence and peace. You have evolved in chaos, yet you choose peace when you could choose violence. Perhaps there is wisdom in that choice that we have never had to learn." Captain Wright looked around at the perfect city, the peaceful beings, and wondered if they had discovered allies or simply observers in humanity's struggle through the stars. Only time would tell. 6 months had passed since first contact with the Serenites. The cultural exchange program was now in full swing, and today marked a historic occasion. For the first time, a Serenite philosopher had agreed to visit Earth. Dr. Angela Hoffman paced nervously at the landing pad, her eyes scanning the cloudy Seattle sky. As one of Earth's leading cultural anthropologists, she had been chosen to host Gentlebrook during his 3-week stay. The assignment both thrilled and terrified her. The shuttle descended gracefully, making almost no sound as it touched down. When the door opened, Gentlebrook emerged, his tall blue form moving with liquid grace. Unlike Ambassador Stillwater, who had remained on Pax, Gentlebrook had volunteered specifically to experience human society firsthand. "Welcome to Earth," Angela said, offering a slight bow instead of a handshake, as she had been advised that Serenites preferred minimal physical contact. "The pleasure is mine, Dr. Hoffman," Gentlebrook replied, his large eyes taking in everything at once. "I have studied your world for many years, but experiencing it directly, the sensations are overwhelming." Angela smiled. "Then we'll take things slowly. Your comfort is our priority." They began with a tour of Seattle's quieter areas: parks, museums, libraries. Gentlebrook showed particular interest in human art, standing for long periods before paintings that depicted struggle or conflict. "Your species creates beauty from pain," he observed in the Seattle Art Museum, staring at a Civil War battlefield painting. "This is something we cannot fully comprehend." By the 5th day, Angela felt comfortable enough to show him more complex aspects of human civilization. They visited a veterans' memorial, where rows of white stones stretched across green grass. "Each stone represents a person who died in war," she explained gently. Gentlebrook's normally serene face showed confusion. "They chose to die. Some volunteered to fight knowing they might die. Others had no choice. But all of them are remembered for their sacrifice." The Serenite touched one of the stones with long, delicate fingers. "On Pax, we have no memorials. No one has ever died protecting others." Later that afternoon, they'd walked along the shores of Lake Washington. Families played nearby, children laughing as they ran through shallow water. Suddenly, a cry cut through the peaceful scene. A small boy had wandered too deep and was struggling in the water. Before Gentlebrook could process what was happening, Angela had kicked off her shoes and plunged into the lake. She swam powerfully to the child, grabbed him, and brought him safely to shore. The boy's parents rushed over, thanking her profusely as they wrapped their son in a towel. Angela rejoined Gentlebrook, her clothes soaked and her breath coming in short gasps. "You risked yourself," the Serenite said, studying her with new interest. Without hesitation, Angela shrugged, wringing water from her shirt. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Gentlebrook said quietly. "Not anyone. Not everyone. On my world, we might have called for help, but few would have acted so directly. Risk is foreign to us." That evening, as they ate dinner at Angela's apartment, Gentlebrook was unusually quiet. "Does something trouble you?" she asked. The Serenite set down his fork. "I am processing what I witnessed today. Your immediate response to danger. The memorials to those who died protecting others. The art created from suffering." He paused, his large eyes reflecting the soft lighting. "We Serenites pride ourselves on our peace, but I begin to wonder if we understand what peace truly means." Meanwhile, on Pax, Captain Wright faced challenges of his own. The Serenite Council had granted humans limited access to their technology, but cultural misunderstandings arose daily. Wright found himself constantly explaining human behaviors that the Serenites found puzzling: competition, debate, even friendly arguments among his crew. "Your people contain so many contradictions," Ambassador Stillwater told him during their daily meeting. "You protect and destroy. You love and hate. You build weapons and hospitals with equal skill. That's what makes us human. Wright replied simply. What neither Wright nor Angela realized was that the galaxy was watching their interactions closely, and not everyone approved of the growing bond between humanity and the galaxy's most peaceful species. Far from Earth and Pax, on the rocky planet of Tarsus, representatives from 23 galactic species gathered in emergency session. The subject of their meeting: the expanding Krell Empire. Admiral Gary Patterson of Earth attended the meeting with a small team of advisors. He watched grimly as holograms displayed the recent Krell conquests, 12 systems in just 8 months. The pattern is clear, said the Volturian delegate, his scaled skin reflecting the light. The Krell consume all in their path. They leave nothing alive that does not serve them. The Krell were not present at this gathering. They had withdrawn from the Galactic Council 3 years earlier, declaring the Council weak and unworthy of their attention. We must form a united defense, Admiral Patterson suggested, standing to address the gathering. Share technology, coordinate our fleets. Easy for humans to say, interrupted the Nexian ambassador. Your species was unknown to us until recently. The Krell have been our nightmare for generations. Intelligence Officer Samantha Collins leaned toward Admiral Patterson. Sir, there's a pattern they're missing. May I speak? Patterson nodded. Samantha stepped forward, her normally quiet demeanor giving way to urgency. In the last 3 months, the Krell have specifically targeted systems with human trade connections, she explained, manipulating the hologram to highlight certain planets. Outpost 7, New Eden Colony, the Rigel Trading Hub, all places where humans had established relationships. The room fell silent. Then the Volturian spoke again. Are you suggesting they target humanity specifically? I'm suggesting they target any species that interacts positively with humans, Samantha replied. It's as if our very presence offends them. After the meeting, Admiral Patterson received a secure transmission from Earth. On screen, General Frank Morrison looked tired. How bad is it, Gary? He asked without preamble. Worse than we thought, Patterson replied. The Krell are stronger than any single species, including us, and now it seems they're isolating us systematically. General Morrison nodded grimly. This brings me to the Serenites. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours, especially their shielding systems. If we could adapt those for our ships. Frank, you know they're pacifists, Patterson interrupted. They've never built a weapon in their entire history. I'm not asking for weapons, Morrison insisted. Just defensive capabilities. Protection. Across the galaxy on Pax, Captain Wright faced a similar conversation with Ambassador Stillwater. They walked through a garden where plants responded to emotions, changing colors as the Serenites passed. Your military leaders have requested access to our shielding technology, Stillwater said calmly. They believe it could protect human ships. Wright sighed. The Krell threat is real, Ambassador. We've lost contact with 3 outer colonies already. Our technology was developed for exploration and protection from cosmic radiation, Stillwater replied. Never for conflict. The great harmony that guides our society forbids enabling violence in any form. Before Wright could respond, a commotion interrupted them. A delegation had arrived unexpectedly at the garden entrance. 3 tall, heavily armored figures with ridge-lined faces and yellow eyes. Krell. They demanded immediate audience, explained a distressed Serenite aide. We could not refuse without risking offense. The Krell commander stepped forward, ignoring Stillwater completely and focusing on Wright. Human, your presence pollutes this gathering. Wright kept his expression neutral. I represent Earth in peaceful diplomatic exchange. Commander. Vexkar, the Krell said sharply. Remember it when your colonies burn. Throughout this exchange, the Serenites stood motionless, their cultural inability to process direct confrontation leaving them paralyzed. Vexkar turned to leave, but paused beside Stillwater. These creatures are beneath notice, he said, gesturing to the Serenites. Too weak to fight, too passive to matter. Your choice of allies reveals your species' fundamental flaw, human. You value weakness. After the Krell departed, the garden plants had all turned a deep indigo, reflecting the emotional distress of every Serenite present. Now you understand, Wright said quietly to Stillwater. The galaxy is changing. Peace only works when everyone values it. For the first time since their meeting, Stillwater's serene expression faltered. Perhaps, the ambassador said, there are things about peace that we Serenites have yet to learn. Gentlebrook returned to Pax, changed by his time on Earth. The once serene philosopher now moved with a new energy that surprised his fellow Serenites. Upon his arrival, he immediately requested a great contemplation, a rare gathering of minds that had not been called in over 300 years. Within the Crystal Dome, the highest chamber of learning on Pax, 500 Serenite philosophers arranged themselves in concentric circles. At the center stood Chief Philosopher Calmwater, eldest of their kind, his pale blue skin now almost white with age. Gentlebrook requests our united thought on a matter of great importance, Calmwater announced, his voice carrying effortlessly through the perfect acoustics of the dome. The floor is yours, young one. Gentlebrook moved to the center, aware of the thousands of eyes upon him. I have returned from Earth with questions that disturb my peace, he began. Questions about the very nature of tranquility and whether our understanding of it is complete. A murmur passed through the gathering, an unusual sound in a Serenite assembly. For 50,000 years, we have defined peace as the absence of conflict, Gentlebrook continued. We evolved on a world without predators or natural disasters. We never needed to defend ourselves or others, but humans evolved differently. He activated a holographic display showing scenes from Earth, a firefighter rushing into a burning building, a doctor working through exhaustion to save lives, a soldier placing their body over a child during an attack. They choose danger to protect others, Gentlebrook said. I witnessed a human woman named Angela jump into dangerous waters to save a drowning child, without hesitation, without thinking of herself. Chief Philosopher Calmwater tilted his head. And this disturbs your peace. It does, Gentlebrook admitted, because it raises a question. Is pacifism moral when it allows others to suffer? Is violence ever justified if it prevents greater harm? The dome filled with whispers. Such questions had never been asked in their society. At Gentlebrook's request, human diplomat Peter Martinez had been invited to join the great contemplation. He stood now, looking small among the tall Serenites. My people have a long, painful history of violence, Peter said quietly. We've fought wars over resources, beliefs, and power. But we've also fought to end slavery, to stop genocide, to protect the innocent. He paused, looking around at the gathered philosophers. We envy your peace, he continued. We truly do. But would you stand by and watch a child drown because diving in would disturb the calm water? The gathering fell completely silent. An elder named Deepthought rose slowly. For countless generations, we have believed that all violence corrupts, that any force used against another being taints the user forever. Perhaps, Gentlebrook suggested, there is a difference between violence for domination and force used in protection. As the debate continued through the day and night, Serenite society outside the dome began to feel the ripples of this unprecedented discussion. Groups formed in gardens and plazas, some defending traditional absolute pacifism, others questioning it for the first time. Ambassador Stillwater met with Captain Wright outside the Crystal Dome. Your Gentlebrook has caused quite a disturbance, Stillwater said, but without accusation in his voice. Is that bad? Wright asked. Stillwater considered this. Change is neither good nor bad in itself, but it is always uncomfortable. He looked up at the dome's glittering surface. For 50,000 years, we have had perfect consensus. Now, for the first time, we have debate. On the third day of the great contemplation, as the philosophers reached no clear consensus, news arrived that shocked both humans and Serenites. The Krell Empire had launched surprise attacks on 3 human colonies. Thousands were dead, and many more were missing. As Captain Wright prepared the U.S. horizon for immediate departure, Gentlebrook approached him. "Now our philosophical debate has real consequences," the Serenite said. "What we decide is no longer theoretical." Wright looked at him with tired eyes. "Philosophy is a luxury of peace, Gentlebrook. War has its own logic." "Perhaps," Gentlebrook replied. "But what your humans call taking a stand begins first in the mind, does it not?" As the horizon broke orbit, the great contemplation continued, now with an urgency it had never known before. The U.S. horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the New Haven colony. What Captain Wright saw on the view screen made his stomach turn. The once thriving settlement was now mostly rubble. Fires still burned in several areas. Emergency beacons blinked weakly across the landscape. "Life signs?" Wright asked, his voice tight. Science Officer Kate Johnson checked her readings. Several hundred survivors in the central bunker. Many injured. She paused, swallowing hard. "But sensors show thousands of bodies, sir." Wright stood from his chair. "Prepare medical teams and security details, and keep scanning for Krell ships. This could be a trap." As the rescue teams beamed down to the surface, Security Chief Paul Newman led the first group into the colony's main bunker. Frightened faces looked up at them. Children, elderly, and wounded. "The Krell came without warning," said a woman with a bandaged arm. "They said they were eliminating human expansion. They took hundreds of people alive onto their ships." From orbit, Commander Lisa Carter coordinated the evacuation. "We can transport about 200 at a time, Captain. The horizon can accommodate all survivors, but it will take hours." Wright nodded. "Do it. We need to get these people to safety." Halfway through the evacuation, alarm klaxons blared. Krell warships detected. Officer Rodriguez shouted. 3 heavy cruisers on approach. They waited for us, Wright realized. Complete the evacuation. Prepare defensive systems. The Horizon was an exploration vessel with limited weapons. Against 3 Krell warships, it stood little chance. As the first enemy shots hit their shields, the ship shuddered violently. "Shields at 60%, reported Rodriguez. "They're targeting our engines." "Evasive maneuvers," Wright ordered. "Focus on protecting the transporter rooms until evacuation is complete." The Horizon twisted and turned, absorbing punishment while the last survivors beamed aboard. When the final transport was confirmed, Wright gave the order. "Get us out of here. Maximum speed." The ship jumped to FTL, but not before taking severe damage. 1 engine was offline, and hull breaches had been reported on 3 decks. Back on Earth, Admiral Patterson stood before the Global Defense Council. The room was silent as he finished his report on the attacks. 3 colonies, thousands dead, hundreds taken prisoner, he summarized grimly. "The Krell have declared open war." "Our options?" asked President Olivia Clark. "Our fleet is outmatched in both numbers and technology," Patterson admitted. "The Krell shields are too strong for our weapons to penetrate effectively. Without better technology, this will be a very short war." "And the Serenites?" someone asked. Patterson shook his head. "They remain committed to their pacifist principles. They've offered humanitarian aid, but no military support." While Earth prepared for war, on Pax, the debate had reached a critical point. The Serenite Council of Elders convened an emergency session when a message arrived for all galactic species. The message played on a large screen in the council chamber. Commander Vexkar's face filled the display, his yellow eyes cold. "The Krell Empire delivers this ultimatum to all species," he announced. "Sever all diplomatic, economic, and social ties with humans immediately. Those who comply will be spared. Those who stand with humanity will share their fate." The message ended. Fear, an emotion almost unknown on Pax, rippled through the council. Elder Peace River, oldest of the traditionalists, spoke first. "Our answer is clear. We must withdraw from contact with humans. Our 50,000 years of peace cannot end now." Ambassador Stillwater stood in opposition. And if we abandon them, what does that say about our principles? Our principle is nonviolence, Peace River countered, not martyrdom. The debate continued as a separate transmission arrived, this one just for the Serenites, directly from Vexcar himself. Your species is irrelevant to galactic matters, the Krell commander said dismissively. Your technology, however, interests us. Surrender all relations with humans, share your technological archives with the Empire, and we shall leave your world untouched. You have 3 galactic days to decide. As the transmission ended, Gentlebrook entered the chamber uninvited, a shocking breach of protocol. Elders, he said urgently, we face not just a practical choice but a moral one. I believe the humans have something to teach us about courage. The council chamber fell silent as the full weight of the choice before them became clear. For the first time in their history, the most peaceful species in the galaxy faced an impossible decision. The Crystal Dome, normally a place of quiet contemplation, now hummed with tension as the Serenite Council of Elders gathered for their most important meeting in 50,000 years. Hundreds of observers filled the outer rings, something unheard of during official council proceedings. The Krell ultimatum had reached every corner of Pax, and for the first time, ordinary Serenites demanded to witness their leaders' deliberations. Ambassador Stillwater stood at the center of the chamber, facing the 12 elders who sat in a perfect circle around him. Elder Peace River, his skin almost translucent with age, spoke first. The path of harmony requires us to remove ourselves from this conflict, Peace River said. Throughout our history, neutrality has preserved our civilization. We cannot abandon this principle now. Murmurs of agreement came from several elders. Stillwater waited for them to finish before responding. Respected elders, I have spent more time with humans than any Serenite. I have observed their contradictions, their capacity for both violence and compassion. What threatens them now threatens all free species. Elder Wavesong, her voice melodic even in disagreement, answered, The Krell have promised to leave us in peace if we sever ties with humanity. Our first duty is to our own people. The debate continued for hours, with opinions divided almost evenly. As the second day of deliberations began, Gentlebrook was finally permitted to address the council formally. He entered the chamber accompanied by Dr. Angela Hoffman, who had been brought to Pax as a human representative. Honorable elders, Gentlebrook began, I wish to present a perspective that challenges our most fundamental beliefs. The chamber grew silent. For generations, we have believed that our pacifism represents the highest form of enlightenment. But I now suggest that our peace comes not from wisdom but from privilege. We have never faced predators. We have never endured natural disasters. We have never been forced to choose between violence and extinction. Several elders shifted uncomfortably as Gentlebrook continued. Humans evolved on a dangerous world. They developed aggression as a survival trait. Yet despite this, they choose peace when possible. They limit their violence through laws and ethics. Is that not more remarkable than our peace, which has never been tested? Elder Peace River's voice shook with emotion. You suggest our entire philosophy is built on ignorance. I suggest, Gentlebrook replied calmly, that refusing to defend others when we have the power to help is not peace. It is cowardice. The word hung in the air like a physical thing. No Serenite had ever used such language in the council chamber. Angela Hoffman stepped forward. The human woman looked small among the tall Serenites, but her voice carried clearly. On Earth, we have a saying, all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Your people have built a beautiful civilization based on harmony, but now you face a choice that defines what that harmony truly means. After Angela finished speaking, Chief Elder Calmwater called for 3 days of meditation before the final decision. It was the traditional way Serenites resolved difficult questions, through individual reflection rather than debate. For 3 days, Pax was quieter than it had ever been. In homes and gardens across the planet, Serenites contemplated questions they had never faced before. On the morning of the 4th day, the council reconvened. Every Serenite on the planet watched the proceedings through shared consciousness links. Elder Calmwater rose to deliver the decision. "We have existed in peace for 50,000 years," he began slowly. "Today, that unbroken history ends." A collective gasp traveled through the watching millions. "Not because we choose violence," Calmwater continued, "but because we choose to stand with those who have shown us a deeper meaning of peace. True peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the courage to defend what is right." He turned to Angela Hoffman, who stood with tears in her eyes. "Tell your people," Calmwater said, "that the Serenites stand with humanity." The decision sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Species who had dismissed the Serenites as irrelevant philosophers suddenly took notice. The Krell Empire, expecting easy compliance, now faced unexpected resistance from the galaxy's most peaceful species. And somewhere in deep space, aboard a damaged U.S. Horizon, Captain Wright received the message with stunned disbelief. 2 weeks after the Serenites' historic decision, the Grand Hall of Earth's United Defense Command buzzed with activity. Holographic displays showed fleet movements, casualty reports, and resource allocations. In the center of this organized chaos stood an unusual sight. 3 Serenites in their flowing blue robes, looking completely out of place among the uniformed military personnel. Admiral Patterson approached the visitors with cautious hope. "We appreciate your support, but I must be clear. We need more than good wishes to survive the Krell attacks." Lead Engineer Gentleflow, who had never left Pax before this mission, bowed slightly. "We understand, Admiral. While we cannot build weapons, we offer 3 gifts that may change the course of this conflict." The first Serenite team arrived at Earth's largest medical facility, where wounded soldiers and civilians from the colony attacks filled every available bed. Dr. Lisa Carter, recalled from the Horizon, watched in amazement as the Serenites unpacked crystalline devices, unlike anything she had ever seen. "These are healing matrices," explained a Serenite doctor named Lifekeeper. "They accelerate natural healing and reduce pain without drugs." Within days, recovery rates tripled. Wounds that would have taken months to heal now closed in days. Patients who had been given little chance of survival began to recover. On the front lines, the second gift proved equally valuable. Serenite engineers worked alongside human technicians to modify their planetary shield technology for use on human ships and colonies. "The principles are similar," Gentleflow explained to a group of engineers. "We designed these shields to protect against solar radiation and cosmic dangers. With adjustments, they can protect against weapons fire just as effectively." When the first retrofitted destroyer, the U.S. Defender, engaged a Krell patrol, the results were immediate. The improved shields absorbed energy levels that would have destroyed the ship 3 times over. For the first time since the war began, a human vessel returned from battle without casualties. But it was the third gift that truly changed the war. Serenite communication experts shared their faster-than-light transmission technology, allowing Earth's scattered forces to coordinate in real time across vast distances. "Our people developed this to share thoughts and experiences," said communications specialist Clairvoice. "You use it to share battle plans. Different purpose, same technology." With each passing day, the Serenites working alongside humans experienced emotions new to their species. When a hospital ship carrying their healing matrices safely evacuated hundreds of children from a threatened colony, they felt pride. When their shields saved a human crew from certain death, they felt righteous satisfaction. On Pax, not everyone supported this new direction. Elder Peace River led protests against what he called enabling violence, but found his once powerful voice becoming a minority opinion. The majority of Serenites had embraced their new role, seeing it as an evolution of their philosophy rather than a betrayal. Gentlebrook and Angela Hoffman established a joint philosophical institute on Earth, where Serenite thinkers and human ethicists explored questions of justified protection versus aggressive violence. Their writings spread across both worlds, helping each species understand the other better. "We do not become violent by preventing violence," Gentlebrook wrote in a widely shared essay, "We do not surrender peace by defending it." The Krell, meanwhile, reacted to the Serenites' choice with fury beyond expectation. In a transmission broadcast across all channels, Commander Vexcar's face twisted with rage. "The pacifists have revealed themselves as hypocrites," he declared. "The Krell Empire will not permit this treachery to stand. The human disease has infected them, and like all infections, it must be burned out." 3 days later, Earth's long-range sensors detected a massive Krell fleet assembling near their border. But this fleet was not headed toward any human world or outpost. Its trajectory pointed directly at Pax. When Captain Wright received these coordinates aboard the repaired U.S. Horizon, he immediately called an emergency meeting with Admiral Patterson. "The Serenites helped us when they had every reason not to," Wright said firmly. "We cannot abandon them now." Patterson nodded slowly. "Agreed. But defending Pax means placing our already stretched forces between the Krell and a planet that has never known war. God help us all." The skies above Pax had never seen battle. For 50,000 years, only exploration vessels and diplomatic shuttles had entered its atmosphere. Now those same skies filled with ships of war. The combined human fleet, hastily gathered from across 3 sectors, formed a protective barrier around the Azure planet. On the bridge of the U.S. Horizon, Captain Wright studied the tactical display with grim determination. Beside him stood Gentlebrook and a Serenite engineer named Calmpool, who had volunteered to serve as technical advisors. "The Krell fleet outnumbers us 3-1, Wright said quietly. "Even with Serenite shield technology, this will be close." Gentlebrook looked out at the stars. "My people have never witnessed battle. Today will change us forever." Throughout the fleet, Serenite volunteers worked alongside human crews. They could not bring themselves to operate weapons, but they managed shields, communications, and medical stations with quiet efficiency. Admiral Patterson's voice came through the command channel from his flagship. "All vessels, maintain formation. Remember, we're not just defending Pax. We're showing the galaxy what it means to stand together." The first Krell ships appeared at the edge of the system, their angular black hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. They came not in a disorganized rush, but in precise attack formations. "They expected resistance," Wright observed. "They came prepared for a real fight." The battle began with an exchange of long-range fire. Krell energy weapons lashed out, meeting the enhanced shields of human vessels. The human fleet answered with everything they had: missiles, railguns, energy beams. Some found their marks, but most Krell ships shrugged off the damage. As the fighting intensified, the U.S. Horizon took a direct hit that penetrated its shields. Alarm klaxons wailed as damage reports flooded in. "Engineering deck hit badly," reported Security Chief Newman. "Shields at 30% and failing." On the engineering deck, trapped behind a collapsed bulkhead, Calmpool watched human crew members risk their lives to save injured comrades. In that moment, something changed in the Serenite engineer. Without speaking, he moved to a control panel and began reconfiguring systems in ways the human engineers had never seen. On the bridge, Wright noticed strange readings. "What's happening to our shield system?" Before anyone could answer, Calmpool's voice came through the comm. "Captain, I have modified our shields to emit a resonance frequency. If other ships make the same adjustments, we can create a synchronized wave effect." Wright didn't fully understand the technology, but he trusted the Serenite. "Do it. Admiral Patterson, recommend all ships adjust shields to match the Horizon's frequency." As ship after ship made the adjustments, something remarkable happened. The combined shield frequencies created a wave that spread outward through space. When it reached the Krell ships, their systems began to fail. Weapons went offline. Engines sputtered and died. Communication systems fell silent. The wave didn't destroy the Krell vessels. It simply disabled them. In the stunned silence that followed, Commander Vexcar's flagship drifted powerless. The Krell commander stared in disbelief at the Serenite world that had defeated him without firing a shot. 3 days later, representatives from 20 species gathered on Pax to witness something unprecedented: the signing of a new galactic charter. At its heart was a principle that combined human determination with Serenite wisdom, the right of all species to exist in peace, and the responsibility of all to defend that right. Elder Comwater and President Clark signed the document together, while Captain Wright and Gentlebrook stood as witnesses. "Today marks a new understanding of peace," Comwater announced, "not as passive acceptance, but as active protection of all who wish to live freed from aggression." As the delegates departed, Gentlebrook and Angela walked through a garden where the emotional plants now displayed colors never seen before, deep blues intermingled with bright golds, reflecting the complex new emotions of the Serenite people. "Your species changed us," Gentlebrook said softly. Angela smiled. "And you changed us. We needed to be reminded why we fight, not for victory, but for the peace that follows." Above them, the stars shone on a galaxy forever altered by the day the most tranquil species found their courage and stood with humanity against the darkness.